And folks, welcome to another tropical update from Cayman Hurricane Center. We do have multiple systems out there that we are watching, but one in particular, which is going to be a very significant system and again a significant threat across the Gulf, particularly for Florida. Once again, we're watching for a system heading there. Of course, we'll have a just quick look at the wide view and our systems that we are watching in total before we get down into the main focus of this update, which is going to be Hurricane Milton. So here's the wide map here, folks, of the Atlantic. And again, we do have Hurricane Kirk, a very large hurricane out here in the north central Atlantic on its way towards the northeast and in towards Europe. Again, some pretty decent impacts expected across Europe as a result of Kirk. We do have a much smaller Hurricane Leslie out here, expected to follow in similar path towards Leslie, again up and out over the central portions of the Atlantic. We do have here our, again, significant threat that we're watching closely, Hurricane Milton here in the Gulf, and again on its way towards Florida. We'll get the details on that in just a moment. We do have another tropical wave we're watching over Western Africa, expected to come offshore in a couple of days. Moving generally west to west northwest across the eastern central main development region. Impacts there to the Cape Verde Islands possible with that. Again, good chance. Could potentially see Nadine, which is next on the list, coming from this area. We're also closely watching once again the Western Caribbean for some potential development there. And again, that to generally move north and northeastwards over the northwestern Caribbean Gulf of Mexico. We'll have details on that one a little later in the week ahead. So, look, folks, to our main area we're focusing on, to Milton. As of the latest of Milton here, we could see our system rapidly intensifying here, getting itself organized, hot towers building up around that very tight eye wall, the eye clearing out and getting itself together here with Milton. Now, as of the latest particulars of Milton and what we're expecting of Milton, again, located 22.2 north, 93 west, about 220 west-northwest of Progreso, Mexico, 770 west-southwest of Tampa, Florida. Winds are at 90 miles per hour now, and the movement is a very erratic movement towards the east at 6 miles per hour. And again, pressure is at 975 millibars. As we can see here, we do have a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch for the northern sections of the Yucatan Peninsula. We could see some watches and warnings that may be required for Florida. We do note that a little later in the morning here, we are expecting some hurricane watches and some storm surge watches here for Florida. We could see some additional watches and warnings for other parts of Florida and the Bahamas as well as we go further here, folks. Again, most significant of this is that we're expecting Milton to rapidly intensify by a significant degree here, folks. Again, we are expecting that Milton will be a major hurricane as we go through the day here Monday, and will rapidly intensify. And again, we're likely to see this develop into a very significant major hurricane, certainly a Cat 4. There's even the possibility here, again, the environment extremely favorable within this region here. Could even potentially see this rapidly intensify to a Cat 5. Some of the forecast guidance are suggesting and hinting that possibility. So we do need to watch very closely, especially for Florida as we go forward, folks. And as we could see with the forecast, we're expecting generally in around the vicinity of west central Florida, Tampa Bay area, maybe again a bit further to the north or a bit further to the south. We could see this. One thing we want to note is that Milton is expected to grow in size as well and will be impacting a very vast region of Florida. This is expected to be the biggest, potentially the biggest and most significant event for Florida since Hurricane Irma of 2017, folks. So again, we'll have to watch this very closely. We do note that state of emergencies for many counties of Florida, essentially in all of these areas, a state of emergency now exists in preparations for this. We do have mandatory evacuation orders for areas just north and to the south of Tampa Bay. For western portions of Tampa Bay, there is a voluntary evacuation order that is given for that area. We're likely to see further evacuation orders given. So again, please do stay in touch with your local national disaster management or local disaster management agency to find out the latest details on that here, folks. With regards to impacts of Milton here, again, we are expecting that, again, in the immediate term for the Yucatan Peninsula, obviously, tropical storm conditions to begin earlier this morning for portions of the Yucatan. Hurricane conditions also possible there for the northern Yucatan as we go. Again, we are talking about maybe seeing some tropical storm conditions, maybe extending into northwestern portions of Cuba as we get into later Tuesday. And we could see, again, storm force winds starting to approach Florida as we get into earlier on Wednesday with hurricane conditions again a little bit later on Wednesday. For Florida. Again, we'll have more detailed information with regards to winds and storm surge for Florida as we go through further updates later today. Again, storm surge for the Yucatan Peninsula, 2 to 4 feet above the normal ground level there. So we're going to be watching for that. And we want to note significantly their rainfall with this system for the Yucatan and Cuba, 2 to 4 inches. For Florida, we are looking at potentially 5 to 10 inches with as much as 15 inches over the peninsula of Florida, maybe over the Florida Keys as we do go here, folks. And of course, swells generated by this system already affecting the southern coastlines of the Gulf of Mexico. This likely to spread into portions of the northwestern Caribbean, over the eastern Gulf, and towards the U.S. Eastern Gulf Coast as we go forwards into the week ahead, folks. So we're going to be watching this very closely with Milton as we go. Again, just a quick look at the models here, just to give a general idea of what we're looking at here. Again, the consensus of the guidance is pretty much, again, in line with the official forecast. And again, it is possible that it could go a little bit further to the north, a little bit further to the south. It's all going to depend on how much this system strengthens. Again, a little bit further to the north, likely a much stronger system, a little bit further to the south, a bit of a weaker system. The other thing we're looking at, folks, is the potential that, again, this rapid intensification continues, and not out of the question that we could potentially be talking about this thing ramping up to a very significant Category 4, maybe even a Category 5 hurricane as we go. We do note that the conditions ahead of this system here, especially within this region here, very favorable. The cap is off. We do expect, though, as it starts to approach Florida and especially crossing over into the Atlantic side, conditions will be a bit more hostile. Maybe the system transitioning as a frontal boundary will be draping over and helping to drag this off towards the east, and that interaction will likely weaken the system after it crosses Florida. So we're going to be watching this closely here, folks. We'll have some further updates as we go further. Folks, that's the update from us here. We'll have more later.